take a tablespoon of corn flour in a dry bowl and then start adding your water. Now I'm adding a quarter teaspoon of water at a time. You want to add this really slowly so that your consistency is right and not very runny. If you're using food coloring that is liquid based, that is water based, make sure that you do not add too much water, because the food coloring that has water in it will also add like an additional liquid. Over here I'm using gel food coloring and I'm going in for a green color because I want to do green petal dust. Mix in your food coloring and your mix is ready. Pour your mixture onto a dry plate and then you want to swirl the plate around so that the mixture spreads evenly in a very thin coat onto the plate. Then you want to leave this mixture to dry overnight, and then you will use either a spoon, a knife or a palette knife to just scrape it off the plate, and just keep scraping it and then you collect it onto a greaseproof paper. Then you want to mill your petal dust into a really fine texture. So I do this by hand using a rolling pin, but you can do it into a food processor as well. So just keep milling it. It will take a few minutes to do it with a rolling pin, but make sure it's really fine. And once you're done with that, you want to store it in an airtight container. Make sure no moisture gets into it, and then you can use this for your gum paste. It's a very cheap alternative and you can make it in various colors. To make the color lilies, you will require some floral wire. Now I'm using number 22 because I don't need the stem to be very stable, because I'm going to insert it in the cake. But if you want the stems to be even more stable, you can use thicker wires. Now cut your wires according to the length that you want. I'm using sharp pliers to do this. Also, you want to be careful that you hold both ends of the wire, because the wire snaps really easily and you could misplace the piece of wire very easily. Now I'm using these pliers and bending the top of the wire. As you can see, I'm just going to bend it over, and this will act like the base for the center of the flower. Now you want to do this so that the center of the flower stays in place and the gum paste doesn't move. This gives it the stability. Just bend the wire over and twist it really tight. Now I'm using yellow gum paste to make the center of the flowers. So my flowers are going to be ivory colored, so I want the centers to be yellow, and I'm also doing some light orange centers. Usually color lilies have yellow centers. So you just want to roll out the gum paste and then insert the wire into that gum paste. Now the center of the color lilies are usually very thin cylinders. It's like a cylindrical shape, but it is tapered on both the ends. So you want to make sure that you taper the bottom and the top. You want to work the gum paste between your palms so that it warms up a little bit and it's easier to, work with it. As you can see, I've tapered the top and the bottom. So that's the center of the flower. Now for the petal, I'm using some ivory colored gum paste, and as you can see, I've spread a lot of corn flour on the surface because you want to roll out your gum paste really thin so that the petals look quite natural. If you have a thick petal, it won't look
like a real flower. So to get that real effect, you want to roll out your gum paste really thin. Now make sure while you're rolling out your gum paste, you always lift it while you're rolling it, because if you do not lift it, it will start sticking to the surface. And also you want to make sure that you use a lot of corn flour on your rolling pin as well. As you can see, I'm lifting the gum paste very often so that it doesn't stick to the bottom. And as you can see, I've rolled it really thin. Now I'm using this drop cookie cutter. Now teardrop cookie cutter is usually used for color lilies. Now this size is a little bigger. I'm also going to do smaller petals, but you can choose whatever size cookie cutter you want to use. Once you cut out the petals, you want to smoothen the edges. I'm going to use water as glue and brush it on the petals. And then to form the flower, you are going to take your floral wire and place it right in the center of the petal. And then fold one side of the petal onto the center, and then fold the other side over the previous folded side of the petal. As you can see, I'm pinching the base of the petal so that it looks like a more blossomed and opened lily. And I'm just bending the top of the petal as well, just to give it that natural look. And I don't want it to dry out flat, because flat petals look very artificial. So make sure when you are making these flowers, you want to, give a little bit of natural bend to the petals so that it looks very nice and natural. You can make some closed petals as well. Like you can see here, this one is a bit more closed than the previous flower. Then I'm using a smaller cookie cutter, the same one, the teardrop one, to make smaller petals. With the smaller petals, I tend to make more closed flowers so that they look like a new bud. And with the larger ones, I usually show more like blossomed flowers. So as you can see, I'm rolling the first bit of the petal and then the other one on top of it. And as you can see, this one is more of a closed flower. And again, I'm just bending the top bit of the petals just to make it look more natural. Then I'm using a clean egg carton to dry out the petals. Again, as I said, I don't want to dry them out flat. That is why I am using the egg carton, so that it holds the bends in the petals that I've created and they dry out in that shape. As you can see, the grooves of the egg carton help to keep the shape of the petals. And you can see I've given like different shape to each flower. You don't want to make them look uniform because you want it to look more realistic. Then I'm going to shade the bottom of the petal with the green petal dust that we made. So I'm just taking a few drops of water, and then I'm going to take the petal dust on a brush and then dampen that brush. And then you work the petal dust into the gum paste. You want to make sure that the petal dust, it blends really well. So keep blending it till it looks very natural and till all the dust is nicely blended into the gum paste, as you can see here. You can keep adding layers on layers to make it darker. And that is the finished Calla lily. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It's very easy to make Calla lilies. I think if you're trying flowers for the first time, this flower is very easy. Please like
and subscribe to our channel, Baking with the Vanilla Pod, and also please press that bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video. And do follow us on our social media, Instagram and Facebook. Until next time, happy baking.